Good evening. Let's call to order the Silicon Valley Clean Energy Authority Board of Directors meeting for Wednesday, February 12th, 2025 at 7:02 p.m. First, Chair Tyson, you have a comment?
I do. Thank you very much. I'm appearing remotely pursuant to AB 2449 under the Just Cause provision because I am unable to attend in person due to a physical disability. There is nobody in the room 18 years or older.
Thank you. And Director Showalter?
Yes, she'll be joining us in just a moment.
Okay. We'll pause for that.
Thank you. Director Showalter, if you could please turn on your video and make your statement about your participation.
Can you see me?
Yes, we can. Thank you. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. We're ready for your statement.
Thank you. I am unable to attend this meeting in person due to a personal medical issue and request that I be allowed to participate in the meeting remotely due to emergency circumstance under Government Code Section 54953F. No one over the age of 18 is present at my location.
Thank you, Director Showalter. Next up is roll call. May we have roll call?
Yes, thank you. I will start with those in the room with us this evening. We have Alternate Director Shannon. Here. Barbadillo.
Here.
Scozola.
Here.
Vice Chair Klein.
Here.
Walia.
Here.
Rennie.
Here.
Lee.
Aye.
Meadows.
Here.
Joining remotely, Chair Tyson.
Here.
Dr. Showalter.
Here.
And we did have Director Martinez-Beltran. It looks like she's not on currently, but we do have a quorum of our board present.
Thank you very much. Next up is oral communications. This is a chance for the public to speak on items not on our agenda tonight. Speakers are limited to a maximum up to 3 minutes each. Do we have any speakers in the room wishing to speak? Is there any remote speaker wishing to speak?
Hands raised, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we will be moving to a special resolution, which will be looking at adopting, so we'll have a motion in a little bit, but I just want to say first, as we enter this, and as I lay out this motion or lay out this item, I wanted to give a few of our members here are new to this organization, and and if you've taken a look at the resolution, there's a lot of history as far as that's concerned, and so before we get to the actual resolution itself and having some of the public and let's say a little bit out of order, the person for the resolution that we're going through tonight have a chance to speak from that standpoint. For me, I just wanted to say a little bit about Melody Tovar and kind of from a history standpoint, where this organization that we're at tonight, how we got there, and a lot of this has to do with Melody's input and Melody's hard work. So a little bit of history lesson, the formation of Silicon Valley Clean Energy has its roots in Sunnyvale. In May of 2014, Sunnyvale City Council approved Sunnyvale's Climate Action Plan, and of the 130 different actions that were part of that plan, shifting the energy portfolio to lower greenhouse gases using a community choice energy was a key action. And so in 2014, Sunnyvale City Council prioritized a study issue to look at community choice aggregation and approve funding of that for the fiscal year 2014-2015 budget. The scope of the study issue included preparing the initial assessment report of a CCE program for the South Bay. 3 other communities also stepped forward and contributed funding to that collaborative study: Cupertino, Mountain View, and the County of Santa Clara. Each agency put in $20,000, and the 4 agencies ultimately formed Silicon Valley Clean CCE Partnership, SVCEP, and Sunnyvale staff, primarily Melody Tovar, led the project team and procured consultant services needed to support those partnerships and conduct an initial assessment to assist the decision makers for determining whether and how to move forward with a CCE program. So the assessment study was completed in May of 2015, and that led to a technical feasibility study, which was completed in November of 2015. And it concluded that program that a program to provide greener power for rates lower than PG&E was viable. And in December of 2015, Sunnyvale City Council voted to establish that program along with the other agencies soon after. And then in April of 2016, this JPA was officially launched. Throughout this period, Melody provided necessary leadership every step of the way and played a key role in doing all that groundwork. And of course, this was new to all of us at that time. And Melody's ability to drive the details, engage the entire project team, collaborate with partner cities, and educate them on the value of what a CCA could do, was invaluable and something that I think we all can be very thankful for. Finally, forming SVCE and moving with the other member cities with 100% carbon-free power has been the single biggest reduction in the source of greenhouse gases in the entire region. So that's, that's the value of this JPA, that has a lot to do with Melody's help. I talked to a past Sunnyvale mayor, and he put it very simply: SVCE wouldn't exist if it wasn't for her. She did all the heavy lifting early on. And so I just want to say thank you, Melody, for all of your contributions to SVCE. And I think that's replicated in all the member cities, although we don't have that resolution approved yet, but I just wanted to lay that out. In your packet tonight is that resolution, and it kind of lays out all the work that Melody did, and I'll call out a few of those things when we get to the motion. But seeing with that, I will go ahead and first open up public comment. And actually, are there any comments from the board members first? We'll get after the public comment. We'll also have that. Any comments, Director Walia?
Am I supposed to call you chair or vice chair? I get confused. I'll just call you mayor. Mayor Klein. So thank you so much for that great history lesson. As you know, I've been part of SVCE. This is my 5th year running. Every time I hear something more, especially a reference to somebody like Melody, who has been part of the initial idea of how SVCE came about, I think it's remarkable. I have all the praise and all the thank you on behalf of so many residents, especially the 31,000 residents of the city of Saratoga. Melody, thank you so much for the phenomenal work. Deeply appreciated, and good luck.
Thank you. Any other comments on the board? Director Showalter?
Yes, I've had the pleasure of working with Melody Tovar for at least 2.5 decades. And although I was only involved sort of in an ancillary fashion, voting for the formation of Silicon Valley Clean Energy as a council member, I worked with Melody for many years on water quality issues and other very complex environmental programs. And she was always one of the people you could count on to understand the various aspects of whatever environmental issue was in front of us. So she has really been an environmental leader in Santa Clara County for, I would say, at least 30 years. And this sounds like it's probably the penultimate contribution of her career, but it's certainly not the only one. So Melody, thank you so much for all of you've done. It's been an honor to work with you, and you've taught us all so much.
Thank you, Director. Are there any other comments? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and open up public comment on this item. Is there any member of the public wishing to speak on this? And Romana, if you want to, sorry, not to call you forward, but I know you said that you wanted to say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Ramana Chinakotla. I'm the Environmental Services Director for the City of Sunnyvale. Board members, thank you for this opportunity to say a few words. We're actually still in a state of mourning it's a 3-month official mourning, so really can't say too much, having lost Melody to retirement. I always say that there's not many more Melodies out there. It's not only has she done all this work with SVCE, the contributions she's made to Sunnyvale on the environmental front have been invaluable. She has not just led the partnership with Silicon Valley Clean Energy, but also she's led the sustainability initiative for Sunnyvale. She's also in charge of regulatory compliance. She's our expert on stormwater. She's done some amazing things. And I think like one of the directors said, she has the ability to take something really complex that people have a hard time understanding and make it really easy and simple for people to comprehend. So Melody, thank you so much for all your efforts. We really miss you. But I know you're going to do great things, in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any? Come forward. Sorry. Oh, sure.
Yeah, it's certainly only good things I've heard about Melody. I did not have the pleasure of working with her when she formed SVCE. I started a little bit after she kind of had, SVCE had formed and she gave over the reins. But all positive things that I've heard from my staff about her, the OGs that are still here, and we have 2 of them present tonight. We have Don Bray, who is our Director of Strategic, anyway, he'll tell you his title. And they just make harder titles for me to remember. And Andrea Paisano, who is also an original, who was here and also worked for the city of Sunnyvale for some time. And she's our, as you all know, our deputy, our clerk. And so Don would like to say a few words. Certainly, I understand that Melody loves public praise. So Don, praise away.
All right. Thank you, Monica. So we've definitely heard tonight that Melody Tovar is a person of many talents, and that she played an absolutely instrumental role in helping to form SVCE. Back in the 2015-2016 timeframe, I had the opportunity to work with her and the team that she was leading to do this groundwork, as Mayor Klein described it. And I have a lot of stories from back then, and she has many capabilities, but I have to just give you 3 because we're limited on time, and I can be long-winded. So Melody can work miracles with data. I'm going to tell you about that, especially big data sets. She can really dance in front of a crowd. I'm going to tell you about that. And thirdly, we suspect that she offers pro bono shadow consulting services to SVCE board members, especially ones from Sunnyvale. So we'll tell you about that. Absolutely. So first, miracles with data. Back in the mid-2015 timeframe, we had just received our first item 16 file from PG&E. And this is the holy grail. It was all customer usage for the year 2014. It's hundreds of thousands of rows long. It has in each row maybe 100 data elements. I did the math, it's like 50 million data elements in this big file. It takes like half an hour to load up on your laptop. I mean, it's that big. And so our little team got this file, and we had a deadline. We had to bring forward all this important information from this file. Who were our largest customers? What were the usage numbers from each community and so forth? I mean, deer in the headlights. And we come back and we meet on Monday morning, and Melody goes, "Oh, well, I got to tell you, I geeked out with the data over the weekend." And do you remember saying that? Yeah, see, it's true. So we look at what she's done, and it's like this beautifully summarized. I mean, the pivot tables were inside of the pivot tables. It was complex. It was elegant. And it perfectly stated load by community, municipal versus the community, our top 250 customers, exactly how much energy they used, what they were paying. I mean, it was a miracle. I don't know how you did it. Okay, thing number two, dancing in front of a crowd. So in late 2015, as the communities were starting to do votes with their councils to form and join us, we had to do a road show, basically workshops out in the communities to explain what SVC was going to be all about. And this was the first time things were really being taken public like this. So there were lots of questions, lots of very tough questions, those questions that are hard. I mean, they're simple at the root, but very hard to answer succinctly because power just isn't the easiest thing to explain. So Melody was the MC at a lot of these. She was also our key question answerer, you know, so if the group was stumped, it went to Melody. And the questions were things like, if I join SVCE, how exactly do you route your green electrons to my house, and how do I know that they're green? Can any of you answer that? All right. How does your solar farm supply my house when the sun isn't shining? That was a classic, and one of my favorites. How can you be so sure that you'll beat PG&E on price when you don't exist yet, and they are a multi-billion-dollar for-profit, publicly regulated monopoly? Okay. Well, needless to say, she did an amazing job answering these questions. All the communities voted to join, and we now have, what, 96+% of all customers with us in the service territory. So finally, regarding Melody's role as a shadow consultant, after SVC launched and after Melody went back to her day job with the city of Sunnyvale, we noticed that at board meetings, the director from Sunnyvale always seemed especially knowledgeable. And the questions they asked were just more insightful than they should have been and terrorized staff people. And we thought, now maybe this is just the caliber of directors from Sunnyvale. But the real giveaway was the list of errata that about the board packet that the Sunnyvale director would usually also supply. So an example of that would be in the board packet, we noticed that on item 19, page 26, table 4, at the bottom of the page, the total at the bottom of the third column, you know, check your math. So that would be input from the director from the city of Sunnyvale. And we weren't really sure exactly where that came from. No one knows. And Director Klein does not need to confirm or deny any of this. So in summary, and sincerely, Melody, as you've heard, just did an amazing job at the start of all of this. She just showed amazing leadership. We thank her for that on behalf of all the staff of SVC today, up to 70 or so folks. We thank her, and we wish her continued success in her future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other member of the public wishing to speak, either in the room or remotely?
I will call on staff member Tony Yulo as a member of the public.
Yes.
Are you ready, Tony?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board, and of course, good evening to Melody. I won't be nearly as succinct as Don. I'm just kidding, Don. No, I was also in the room as a member of a member agency, and I just want to echo what Don said about the outstanding competency that Melody showed through this process. We would come together, all of these cats, if you will, herding cats, these member agencies, potential member agencies would come into a room. Sometimes it was just the sustainability folks like me. Other times, all the city managers were there in the room, which could be, many people might find that intimidating. But Melody just struck the right note every time, and she had full control on that room. And as Don indicated, everyone joined in. So clearly, there was a high level of competence uncertainty that was being transmitted from Melody. And so I will just simply say, congratulations, Amiga, on your retirement. We will miss you, and you've earned a very long rest because you were an outstanding person. And not often in a career do you get to look back on something that you were so instrumental in creating. And so I hope that you can sit back with pride and look at SVCE and all that we've done, and know that without you, I'm not sure we would be here. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Tony. Anyone else remotely wishing to speak?
No additional hands raised, Chair.
Okay, I'll go ahead and close public comment and bring it back to the directors for a motion. Director Walia?
I am happy to and honored to support the resolution as presented by staff in the packet.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
From Sunnyvale.
Thank you, Director Lee. Are there any final comments before we approve? And I'll just say a little bit of the resolution. I just wanted to call out, for those of you that have read through it, thank you, Melody, for 32 years of service to Sunnyvale, to the community. Your efforts from a sustainability standpoint are impressive, and just what you've been able to create here. This organization, as has been said, would not exist without your willpower and your spreadsheet monitoring, it sounds like. But for me, being from Sunnyvale, yes, I appreciate your feedback and what you've done in Sunnyvale, what you've done for the region. It is something that is impressive, is inspiring. And for all of us that talk about, what we can do from a sustainability standpoint, it's the measures and creating this organization is something that all of us are happy about, but a lot of that started on your shoulders. And so thank you for that, being part of that first climate action plan and being out that outreach. Never would have think that the money that our 4 cities put in, our 3 cities in the county put in, would have led to so much positive things of just not creating greener energy, but the decarbonization of our community. And that's the power of this organization. And so thank you for that. With that, may we have the vote?
Yes.
And I'll reopen. I'll go a little bit out of order, but let's approve the resolution first, and then thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And this is to adopt Resolution 2025-03. Chair Klein?
Yes.
Director Scozola?
Aye.
Meadows? Aye. Rennie?
Aye.
Barbadillo?
Aye.
Shannon? Yes. Martinez Beltran?
Aye.
Walia?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Chair Tyson?
Yes.
Showalter?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, and I'll take the prerogative of the chair right now. Let me bring the resolution forward for you, Melody, and I would love to have you say a few words, but let me come to the lectern. So we have, why don't you step forward? So we have 2 things, one of which is the resolution, and one of which is the jurisdictions of Silicon Valley Clean Energy.
That's great.
Thank you. Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
And the microphone is yours.
You don't want to read the entire resolution?
I didn't bring my glasses.
Okay,
Is that part of the problem?
Thank you, Vice Chair, and thank you, Board. This is quite an honor. I want to thank you so much for the warm recognition tonight. That was a while ago when we started SVCE, but tonight brings back a flood of memories of getting to work with so many talented and passionate people, from the consultants, the other city staff at the various agencies, the community advocates, and not least at all, the elected officials who really spearheaded this. To support and kind of, let's say, make the outrageous decision to start Silicon Valley Clean Energy. It's been and continues to be totally inspiring and delightful to watch this agency grow and mature and provide such high value back to the community. You know this already, you've said it already, but Silicon Valley Clean Energy is the foundation of local climate action for all of our communities. I want to thank you for the work. I want to thank all my colleagues who worked on this, and really for you guys for being a shining example of the power of collaboration and the power of community advocacy and community action, and really the power of local government to make big, bold decisions and create high-impact changes to help safeguard our Earth and our communities going forward. I'm grateful to have been part of the wild ride that was described here tonight. Thank you to Sunnyvale for letting me make a new agency out of a pivot table, apparently. And I want to just say I appreciate so much the recognition. Thank you.
Thank you, Melody. And thank you all for honoring someone's legacy. You really have made a difference, and we wouldn't be here as a JPA without your efforts. So thank you for your service to Sunnyvale and your service to this organization. Thank you. So thank you for indulging this meeting. We had a little more ceremonial than we normally have before we move to our standard meeting. But let's go ahead and move to our consent calendar. Are there any comments on our consent calendar items? Any items to be pulled from the board?
Yes?
Okay.
Wait, my hand's up?
Oh, sorry. Director Showalter, thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to register a no vote on 1H. I feel like the payment for producing energy is it's just an important part of what Silicon Valley Clean Energy can do for our residents. And I think that we're supposed to be providing incentives. And although this isn't, I understand many of the arguments, I just feel like this is something that people stand around in coffee clutches and talk about. How much did you get back? How much did you get back? And I think they will notice that the amount is going down. And so I'm going to be saying no to this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other items? Any items to be pulled? Any questions? Yes.
So I would like to pull out 1E, 1H for a brief presentation and some discussions, please.
1E and 1H?
Yes, Vice Chair. Thank you.
Okay.
And Chair, if I could just confirm with Director Showalter, your item was item 1H or 1F?
I think she wanted 1F. Director Showalter?
I said 1H.
1H is about...
No, you're right. It is 1F. You're right. I said the wrong thing. I wrote down the right one, but it's 1F.
Okay.
Pardon me. Yeah.
So that was just a comment on 1F. And
Yes.
Director Barbadillo, it's just to reconfirm, it's 1E and 1H.
It is 1F. It's 1F, and sorry, it's 1E and 1H. Yes.
Okay. 1E and 1H. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll open up public comment to see if there's any member of the public wishing to speak or pull an item from consent.
No hands raised, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Let's first approve the consent calendar for everything except 1E and 1H. So is there a motion?
So moved, except 1E and 1H.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Can you please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, thank you. Vice Chair Klein?
Yes.
Director Scozola?
Aye.
Meadows?
Aye.
Rennie?
Aye.
Barbadillo?
Aye.
Shannon? Yes. Walia?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Chair Tyson?
Yes.
Dr. Martinez Beltran?
Yes.
Dr. Showalter?
I wanted to register a no on 1F and a yes on everything else.
Thank you. That is noted.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and take item 1E now. Item 1E is approve the increased SVCE's payments to CCCA in the amount of $200,000. Is there a staff report?
There's a staff report on this item in your packet, but I can speak briefly
Yes,
to it.
absolutely.
So SVCE is a member of a trade association called California Community Choice Agency. CalCCA does a lot of our advocacy for us on regulatory and legislative matters. And so every year they develop a budget for those services, and as members we're obligated to participate in their budget, and the board approved their budget. Our board, SVCE board, approved the budget back in, I believe, June of 2004. Since that budget was approved, they've added some additional studies that they would like, that the members, including SVCE, would like them to conduct on behalf of a group of the members, a joint group, not the full entire association. They call those special assessments. And so some of the special assessments or studies that they're going to do is to actually start to follow some of the rate proceedings at the California Public Utility Commission with respect to PG&E's rates and some of the other kind of budget proceedings that are happening at the CPUC. We traditionally, SCCAs, have not been active or followed those proceedings, and so we're working through a consultant that's been more familiar with the process and the CPUC. So the $200,000 that we're asking for is essentially SVCE's share of CalCCA's total special assessment budget for those particular types of services.
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff? Director Barbadillo.
Right, so this association is an advocacy association, and what benefit does SVCE and its members get? I mean, yes.
So the benefits are not directly you can't quantify them. They're not immediate, right? These proceedings happen every year. Sometimes they're multiple years. They're very, very complicated. Our customers care about their rate and the total rate, and we've talked about affordability here at SVCE. And while we only are responsible for about 33 to 40% of the bill, PG&E and their distribution and transmission rates kind of manage the rest, the big part of our customers' bill. In order for us to understand what goes into that component of the customer's rate, and then eventually be able to advocate for it, we have to be present as a participant in those proceedings. And so the benefits are first to understand, to monitor, and then start advocating, hopefully for better rates for our customers on the portion that we don't control.
So we have, including this asking for 200,000, we have been devoting 660,000 to this association?
Yes, CalCCA is a very large trade association. They represent 24 of all of the CCAs in California, and they do a lot of regulatory advocacy, both at the California Public Utility Commission, at the California Energy Commission, at the CalISO, which is the California Independent System Operator, and they also manage a lot of our legislative advocacy on the many, many, many bills that come out every year that are related to energy.
Right. Since what's the timeline that we have been, contributing? If I deduct 200,000, 460,000 to this association.
Since the beginning of our formation, we've been a member of CalCCA. The alternative is that we would have to do that advocacy on our own, and it would be much more expensive. We'd have to hire additional staff, and would be much less effective.
All right, I understand that their need. Can you just give me an example? What, for the longest time that we have them as consultants, right? Because IH is also consultants, right? So for those time that we have been contributing as a member, up to 660,000, what's a report coming from them that we have used so far in implementing our policies or any activities we have at SVCE?
Yeah, so as an association, the CalCCA is a non-for-profit organization, and as an association, we are members, and so I serve on the board of CalCCA. And so it's not so much that we put out reports, although there's plenty of reports that CalCCA puts out. It's more the opportunity to do joint action advocacy on a legislative and regulatory standpoint. We have made significant progress in our ability to affect legislation and regulations for those entities that regulate us. So a CCA like us, we are what's called a load-serving entity. And as a load-serving entity, we fall under a lot of regulation. And some of those regulations are necessary. Some of them aren't favorable to CCAs. And so through CalCCA, since the formation of CalCCA, we've been able to not only change how we are characterized at the CPUC and the legislative level in terms of we now have a presence there, a respected presence, but we've also been very effective in making sure that some regulations that just aren't favorable to CCAs do not pass. And the same with legislation as well. So the real benefit it is in what we've been able to influence in terms of regulation and legislation.
And there are manifestations of this influence that we've done so far based on, our
Yes, there's plenty. We can certainly provide you a summary of all CalCCA's successes.
All right, please, we'll do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Director Walia?
If it helps, Annie, just a very quick comment. CalCCA has been a very effective advocacy group representing all the CCAs. And last year, as board chair, I went to Sacramento for CalCCA Lobby Day. And I can personally vouch for the efforts, which are hard to quantify, but in a qualitative manner, they watch out for the interests of all the CCAs, as has been explained by CEO Padilla just now. And I'm keeping it very contained and brief. So I would certainly be supporting this.
Thank you. Director Lee?
I'm ready to motion to approve one.
Let's
1A.
open for public comment. Any public comment in the room or remotely?
No comments.
Okay. Director Lee?
Yeah, move to approve 1E.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Director Walia. Sorry about that. Please conduct the vote.
Vice Chair Klein?
Yes?
Director Scazola?
Aye.
Meadows? Aye. Rennie?
Aye.
Barbadillo?
Aye.
Thank you. Shannon? Yes. Walia?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Chair Tyson?
Yes.
Director Martinez-Beltran?
Yes.
Showalter?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 1H. Authorize the CEO to finalize and execute an amendment to the agreement for Optony. Do you have some comments, CEO? Or staff?
Yes, we have Zoe Elizabeth, who is the, introduce yourself, Zoe.
I'm Zoe Elizabeth. I'm the Director of Decarbonization Policy and Community Strategies, and I also have a Senior Manager of Public Sector Services, Anthony Yulo, on the line. So I'll give a brief overview of this, and then Tony, maybe you can fill in some of the details, and happy to answer any questions. So we have had a technical assistance program available to private and public fleet owners to basically help to run and design electrification fleet charging plans. It's a service that is free of charge to program participants. Tony will be able to share the number of our cities who have already gone through the program, but it's particularly, well, one, for any cities who are looking to upgrade to electric vehicles for lowering costs and lowering pollution, but also because of forthcoming state mandates that require some of that fleet transition planning. There's often there's a need for both kind of figuring out the electrical feasibility, but also where the charging stations will go. And so this is a program that has been providing that level of support. We received additional requests from fleets to participate beyond what we had initially programmed. And so these additional funds would allow us to extend the contract with the service provider and provide those additional plans. Tony, is there details you'd like to add?
Certainly. The plans that are provided and the services that we're providing in this program are services that we do not have the technical expertise to produce in-house. I mean, the recipients of these plans get engineered drawings, stamped plans by professional engineers regarding the electrical infrastructure needed to support the charging for these fleet vehicles. So it's a fairly technical analysis that's the result of this process, and that's why we're engaged with a consultant for this work. And with that, I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the directors? Director Barbadillo?
Yes, just comment, Mr. Vice Chair. So the reason why I'm pulling these two items is to bring it out to the public, because whenever there is public funds or expenses a public entity has, I believe that not only through the questions of the directors it should be explained, but this is an explanation to the public. Maybe people are watching us, and for a layman who does not understand why we're releasing 200,000, while we're releasing these hundreds of thousands of this without explanation on a consent calendar, would just raise some more questions than answers. So that's the reason why I'm glad to learn that SVCE base its operations on consultants, very important consultants, very important groups that helps us influence legislation for the better cause of climate. So with that, I will move that 1H be approved by the board.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and open up public comment first.
No
Is there-
comments, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for the motion. Is there a second? Director Walia?
Second.
Thank you. Any other comments? None? Can we have the voice vote, please?
Thank you. Vice Chair Klein?
Yes.
Scozola?
Aye.
Meadows?
Aye.
Rennie?
Aye.
Barbadillo?
Yes.
Shannon? Walia?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Chair Tyson?
Yes.
Dr. Martinez Beltran?
Yes.
Showalter?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to our general business. First up is our CEO report.
Hello. Okay. So we have several staff people here tonight, and which is a great treat. And so I've asked a few of them to come and speak to several of the items that are in the CEO report. But as always, if you have any specific questions or you want me to go into a little bit more of anything that's in the CEO report, happy to do so. But I would like to highlight the following items. So Benna Chang will be speaking first on the federal executive orders and providing the board an update. And then Andrea will be speaking to our first strategic plan update. And then Britta Bradshaw will be talking about our clean power portfolio, specifically answering any questions you might have about batteries and battery safety. And we also have Director Chris Van Vector on the line.
Great. Good evening, Board. Benna Chang, Director of Government and Legislative Affairs. So as you know, we've been closely watching the federal executive orders that have been coming out from the President. At the start, I just wanted to mention that the immediate direct impact to SVCE is limited because most of our programs are not funded by federal dollars. However, we are very much aware that several of the executive orders directly impact our customers and important partners, and then subsequently have indirect impact onto SVCE as well. So a couple of the executive orders that we're closely monitoring include the temporary halt on federal offshore and onshore wind leasing, permitting, and loans, the direction to federal agencies to examine ways to streamline permitting, especially for fossil fuel, hydropower, biofuel, and nuclear projects. And then finally, the temporary pause on disbursements for some Inflation Reduction Act and Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act funding. So as you know, the federal agencies are in the process of interpreting the federal executive orders, and some of them, like the pause on disbursements, are held up in a court process. So it might be some days or weeks before we have more clarity on how the federal agencies will be implementing these executive orders. In the meantime, SVCE is working very closely with our trade associations to advocate on the important pieces of federal investment that really help advance our work and our mission. So with that, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the directors? I see none. Thank you for your hard work and it changes every day right now, so thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good evening, directors. As Monica mentioned, we have a new report in the CEO report this month. This report highlights the strategic focus area accomplishments in addition to the 10 goals that you all approved back in September as part of our strategic plan. So I just wanted to draw your attention to it. It is in the CEO report. It is at attachment 3. And there we've highlighted some of the things that we've done, progress we've made, in addition to some accomplishments that we're highlighting for you on the progress that we've made towards those strategic focus areas and goals. So I encourage you to look at it and let us know if you have any questions. We're hoping to do this quarterly. If you have any suggestions about how we can enhance this, open to that as well, but really just wanted to show you some of the progress we've made on this thus far.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from directors? Director Walia.
I'll be very brief. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's great to see the work that is happening at SVCE, and more than anything else, it's an easy tool to use to convey that information, because SVCE does stellar work. I've always said that. How do we communicate that to our staffs in our cities, and also pick up some items from there, not just this report, but some other things that we can be more effective, and therefore the work that is being done by Team SVCE goes further. So thank you.
Thank you. Director Showalter.
Yeah, kind of as a follow-on from Director Walia, I really enjoyed looking at this, all these infographics. I think they're so they're such powerful communication tools. But I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you see them being used.
Yes, so part of it is for us, part of it is just to acknowledge all the work that we did and to communicate that to the board effectively, first and foremost. But, we have 5 strategic focus areas, and they're very big strategic focus areas when you think about the scope of what we've taken on. And so to be able, and all the teams and all the people who are assigned these big projects or goals, they're working on them day in and day out, and they have a ton of staff who works, well, not a ton, but staff who works on them too. For me, it's really important for every single employee in this organization to feel connected, not just to our mission, but to these goals and strategic focus areas. So part of this exercise is for us just to come together at the end of the quarter and say, what did we work on? That even though we work every day, what did we work on that's helping us get these goals and these big focus areas and our mission achieved? And so for me, it's an important thing for staff to just reflect and then make sure we're making progress. And if we're not making progress, ask ourselves why. Do we have the wrong goals? Do we have the wrong focus areas? Or what's impeding us to do it? So I think that's one of the big benefits of doing it.
Oh, thank you. And I would also say that I think too that it's a way for you to celebrate what you're doing. And it's always important in organizations to plan and accomplish things and celebrate them. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just second that comment. Too often we set kind of strategic goals from an organizational standpoint and lose track of like the intermediate milestones. So I really appreciate the way this is laid out, because even from, I'll be honest, from a council standpoint, we set yearly strategic priorities, and then we kind of reset on a yearly basis, but don't look at the details of that we've really accomplished something in the last year, and to see this is really encouraging, and I think it helps educate both the directors as well as the public on the accomplishments of this organization on an ever-changing role. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I see no other comments on this portion. Would you like to continue?
Yes. Before I get started, so part of what I provide in the CEO report is a clean update, and I'm not sure if you all read it or not, but we made a few changes to it. And included in there, we added a whole section related to our battery energy storage portfolio. This is obviously because there's been a lot of questions, both from the public, and we've had questions from some of the board members about safety of lithium-ion batteries. What does our portfolio look like? Should we be concerned? What are we doing going forward? Because batteries, and specifically lithium-ion batteries, are part of our clean solution. We just can't avoid it. Right? We don't have an alternative that's commercially viable right now that we can use instead of this type of technology. And so I've asked Britta to say a few words about our portfolio of batteries, but certainly if you have any questions at all about any of our clean resources, she can help answer.
Thanks. Sure, so on...
Mike?
Yeah, you have it on.
Double check.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you. So on slide 5 of the Clean Energy Report, we do have this new slide on our contracted batteries. And so I wanted to just give a really quick overview of our contracted batteries and answer any questions if you have any right now. So I wanted to let you know we do have 13 storage sites under contract, 5 of which are currently in operation. They're all outdoor and containerized. That's something I really want to emphasize. That is a big difference between all of our contracted batteries versus a certain battery storage facility you may be seeing in the news, which was all in one building, not in separate containers. And they're all permitted and compliant to the latest safety standards, which lithium-ion utility scale batteries are still a pretty new technology, and I think the standards have come very far, and that's what we're hearing from developments. The standards are far more stringent than they were in 2020. So they are all compliant to the latest safety standards. Another thing to flag is that a battery that recently was on fire was this nickel manganese cobalt oxide battery, NMC. We do have 2 NMC batteries, but a majority, 11 of them, are a newer or a more commonly used nowadays technology, which is LFP, lithium ion phosphate. I think all battery fires to date, utility scale battery fires, have been NMC technology. Most of them have been put out very quickly because they were containerized. So we do have 2 of that technology, but we are discussing further safety measures with those developers. And again, I want to flag that the safety standards are really much more stringent now. They are compliant with those latest standards. They are outdoor and containerized. Any questions on batteries?
Thank you. Are any questions from the directors? I can't see if any of the directors online or, okay, thank you. No questions? Thank you. And definitely safety is, let's say, foremost in many of our minds, especially reading all that. So looking forward to continued updates as our contracts that we currently have keep moving forward and what those safety measures are. So thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and open up public comment on this item. Any public comment in the room or remote?
No hands raised, Chair.
Okay, I'll go ahead and close public comment. Any final comment from the directors? Okay. Let's move on to our next item. Thank you. Our next item is item 3, appoint members of SVCE's 2025 committees. Andrea?
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you.
So, as a result of requesting that you all let me know of your interests in serving in our committees for 2025, I'm going to just show on our screen here who I heard back from. Just a reminder that our committees can have up to 6 members, and I'll go through each of these individually. So the 2025 Legislative Ad Hoc Committee, I heard from Director Skolzola, Director Zach Hilton, Director Brian Mekachuk, Director Yvonne Martinez-Beltran, Director Showalter, and Director Tina Walia. They are interested in serving in this group. Just a reminder, this group was created back in December, and there is a very set purpose for this group in terms of the policy that was adopted at that time. Our Finance and Administration Committee, I heard from 5 individuals, Director Elliot Skolzola, alternate director Sheila Mohan, alternate director Risto, director Pat Showalter, and alternate director Murali Srinivasan. And this is our finance and administration group, which focuses on our financial and administrative operations. And for our audit committee, who kicks off and receives our audit annually, we heard from alternate director Sergio Lopez, Harjot Sangha, who is the finance director for Gilroy and who was nominated by Director Hilton, Chair Tyson from Los Altos Hills, and Director Brian Makachek from Monte Sereno. And those are the individuals whom I heard from who were interested in each of these committees.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions about the process that we're going through tonight? So what we'll be doing is requesting, are there additional nominations for any of these committees from the directors in the room or remote? I see none. Oh, Director Barbadillo.
I'm new to the board, but I would wish to be considered under the legislative ad hoc committee.
Okay. I know. So, but we will. It's a max of 6 for each of these committees. So we have a 7th name in the mix.
Correct.
Okay. Any other nominations? Okay. Let's go ahead and take Director Lee.
Yes, I do have a questions actually. Currently, with the 6 members as proposed on the Legislative Ad Hoc Committee, you have to be a board member to be on the committee, is that correct?
That is open to primary and alternate directors.
Okay. And right now, all 6 listed members there are all primary or
Yes.
they are?
Yes.
Any other comments from the directors or questions from the directors? Before we get to a motion, let's go ahead and take public comment. Any member of the public in the room or remote wishing to speak on this item?
No public comment, Vice Chair, but we do have Director Showalter has raised her hand.
I just saw that. So let's go ahead and close public comment. Director Showalter.
Hi, I was just going to say to our new colleague from Milpitas that you might want to consider the Administrative and Finance Committee. I served on that last year, and I'm going to hopefully get to do it again. And it's really very educational in learning about how SCV works. And I think that you would really enjoy it. So I'm just suggesting that as a possibility that wouldn't create excess people on a committee.
Thank you, Director Showalter, and I'll agree with that. I think Director Barbadillo, I appreciate that you're wanting to help out, as opposed to, let's say, create contention on this on the board on who would be left out of the 7. It would be appreciated if you could go to remove your nomination and apply to one or both of the other 2 committees, because I do think getting that experience across those committees, and especially from a legislative standpoint, I think it's first better to get a feel for either the audit or the finance side of the operation of this board. So I'd be happy to hear a comment from yourself.
That's fine, Vice Chair. I'm going to withdraw my self-nomination, and probably I'll serve on the next round in any ad hoc committees.
Okay. And so you have no interest in audit or finance at this point?
I'll pass at this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Are there any other comments from the board?
I have one suggestion. I think it would be good to have a full roster of 6 on the Finance and Administrative Committee. I have been there in the past. I'm not suggesting I serve there. I think it's a great opportunity. I completely agree with Director Showalter. It is a place where you can learn a lot about the operations of the agency as well as the finances, and a lot of detail there, which certainly helped me 2 years ago when I served on that committee. So if someone is interested, I think this would be a good time. I mean, they can certainly function with 5, but I think it's good to have 6 members there.
I appreciate that. Are there any additional nominations before we get to a motion? And this was the finance, you were saying the finance committee, is that correct? 1 second. 1 second. Too many documents. Okay. One second. There we go. Yes, I know, I'm going through now. Yes, and so I was going to throw my own name in. I can't, however, because of my alternate. So we will live with 5. We will live with the group that we have now, and if people want to sit in, they can always sit in as a member of the public at a later date. Seeing no further nominations, is there a motion?
So moved.
Director Lee moves the list of the 3 committees as listed in the packet.
Second.
Director Scazola, that's fine. Director Scazola, may we have the voice vote?
Thank you. Vice Chair Klein?
Aye.
Dr. Scozola?
Aye.
Meadows?
Aye.
Rennie?
Aye.
Barbadillo?
Aye.
Shannon?
Yes.
Walia?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Chair Tyson?
Yes.
Dr. Martinez Patran?
Aye.
Showalter?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Director Barbadillo, for not making this contentious. I appreciate it. Next up is item 4, Programs Impact Summary, January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024. Justin Zagunis, Director of Customer Service Success.
All right, can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
All right, excellent. Very excited to be here tonight to get to talk to you about program impacts. Always, a little challenging for me because I have to pare down all of the things that I want to talk with you about to a list that I can actually get through. So I'm going to try to go through fairly quickly, and then we will, of course, be able to chat about any questions. And I do, always, as always, encourage you, if you have specific questions or interests, please reach out to me. Always happy to talk more about any specific program. And if you want to see the full list of all programs, we do include that in every board packet, the quarterly programs update. So you can always find that as well. I also want to note that I get to be the face here in front of you tonight talking about program impacts, but this is really the work of dozens of people at SVCE. It's across program design, implementation and management, marketing and outreach, legal review, HR support, the admin team processing thousands of rebate checks and invoices, our external vendors that help us do more than we would be able to do ourselves, and on and on. So it's also thanks to the board's support, of course, through approving these funds in the past, approving the design concepts that we had brought to you, and approving the staff and the team that we have in place to do this. So with that, I'm going to start with something that you have all seen before, which is this pie chart. What I want to focus on tonight, and of course we can come back to this and look at it, but really is just, we started 4 million metric tons in our baseline year of 2015. We're now down to 2.9 roughly. That's about a 27% reduction. Over the same time frame and same rough set of sectors at the national scale, it's about a 5% reduction. At the statewide scale, about a 10% reduction. So really nice in that context. As we heard earlier, largely driven by the emissions from electricity coming down. So when we shifted to SVCE's clean electricity portfolio, that had this really big impact. We haven't seen much movement on the other sectors, which is in some ways, I think, to be expected. Those are earlier in the adoption curve, or fairly early in the adoption curve. And that's really what I'm going to be talking about tonight, is these programs, what we've been doing, the hard work ahead. As you see, over 1 million machines that we do want to replace in our region. And what this pie chart also doesn't capture, that I want to call out, is new construction reach codes. So emissions that were avoided being added through some of those, rather than current emissions that we reduced. Okay, so send your minds back a whole month and a half to 2024. That's what this presentation is about, is really kind of effective as of the end of the year. We have a very large portfolio of programs, both active and that were in planning. And over the course of 2024, we launched 6 new major programs that really represented the kind of final 25% of the portfolio, shifting from planning to active and available for customers. And those programs are the multifamily affordable housing electrification program. So this is a no-cost offer for multifamily properties. We have the turnkey single-family program, which is, there's both a market rate sort of customer copay pathway and a no-cost income qualified pathway. We have the C&I decarb program for some of our largest customers. We refreshed our online resources for customers to kind of learn more and move towards action through our programs. Our first direct EV rebates, which we both have sort of after the fact as well as point of purchase at participating dealerships in the area. And we just are in the process of evaluating another innovation on-ramp cycle. So looking for some pilot projects that can help us test out some approaches for cheaper EV charging at multifamily properties. So I wanted to start off the presentation really just by saying, what's some high-level numbers? So these are cumulative through the end of the year. Over 500 EV chargers installed, 1,600 EV loads managing through the GridShift app, 32 multifamily properties that have installed EV charging across the territory, and almost 50 properties that we have helped with our technical assistance consider EV charging for themselves. And you can see in orange, in parentheses, that shows the change just in 2024. Moving to the building side, about 700 customers have contacted and talked to us through our Go Electric Advisor, which is the concierge service where we can answer questions about any program, about technology, about the bid that you've received, any questions you have. We have a phone line and a chat line. We passed the 1,000 mark for both heat pump water heaters and heat pump HVAC systems. And we're at almost 300 contractors who have finished our online training. So you can see there's some really significant growth in particular over this last year across these last 2 slides, which is fantastic to see. We are still sort of in the, and again, you've seen this one before, we're still sort of in the orange zone here. So we're still pretty early on in some of these technologies, even though we've seen big growth from where we started in 2019 when we really started rolling out programs. So it's both very exciting to see the growth and also important to remember that we still have orders of magnitude to go to get to the point where the whole region is really electrifying at the scale that we need it to hit our goals. The investments in the programs that we're doing today are helping us learn and understand what this path will look like and how we can best enable regional policies, market transformation, kind of push more into the blue zone. But it's really the sort of testing, the innovating, and the learning that we're doing today that I'm going to focus on, and that I think is one of the real values of the programs we've been running. So these are the 3 that I'm going to talk through. I'll give you a very brief description of each. I'm sure you all remember each of these programs and what they are, but I'll just give you a little reminder, and then we'll talk about some of the key learnings from each. Starting with our home rebates program, I think our longest tenured program at SVCE. We've been doing this since 2019 when we started just with heat pump water heaters and panels. We've moved about a year and a half ago. We added heat pump HVAC, induction cooktops, pre-wiring, and other technologies to our suite of offers. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on the slide because I think it's in some ways maybe the biggest, most impactful learning that I'm going to share with you tonight. But I want to start just by defining for everybody panel upsizing. What is it? What does it mean? It's you have a panel in your home, the electrical panel that kind of governs all of the loads. Some homes have a 60 amp panel, some homes have 100 amp, a 200 amp, you could have 400 amp, there's a lot of different sizes. Panel upsizing is where you look at what you already have connected and you kind of assess what the peak instantaneous use is on that panel. And when you want to electrify, you want to add a new electric load, you say, well, I don't have space. It cannot handle this additional amount, so I need to get a larger panel. This can be accompanied by a service upgrade where you have to actually pay to get a new line from PG&E and all these other pieces. So there's some cost and some time associated with this. But this is actual data from our rebate programs. And as you can see, it starts in 2019. And back in 2019, about a third of projects were including a panel upsizing for their heat pump water heater install. And back then, honestly, we didn't know. We didn't know if this is reasonable or not, or what it should be. This was sort of new. We were pushing this. What we've seen is that over time, that has dropped down to under 10%. That's a huge deal. You can see heat pump HVAC, even though we started that more recently, we also see that has dropped quite significantly. Now, I have some thoughts about why this is based on conversations, based on various conferences that we've been to, or we're not the only ones seeing this. I guess I'll say that. I think as contractors were first starting with some of this in our region, there was an interest in sort of oversizing or putting in larger heat pump water heaters because you didn't want to have to come back out. You weren't sure if it would deliver hot water the way that people were used to, and so you were kind of doing that. You also weren't really sure what load was going to show up, or maybe you weren't as comfortable with some of the NEC or the National Electric Council, like the National Electric Code, which is the entity that sort of governs how the math is done on the panel capacity. Maybe you're not as comfortable or familiar with some of that, and so you err on the side of caution on some of those things, and you include a panel upsizing. But it's really important as we think about this that we drive that as low as possible because it has huge cost and time impacts for our customers. So you can see the estimate here. That's based on some initial estimates we had on what fraction would need to be upsized versus what we're kind of seeing today. So what are we seeing today, even outside of our program, is this chart on the right, and I'll sort of describe it to you so you don't have to try to parse it. We looked at every home's usage in our territory, and we estimated what the peak amperage kind of use on that panel, on the electric panel for that home probably looks like. And that's the orange graph there. And that's about 90% of homes have their peak under 100 amps. If you include some heat pumps, so you try to electrify, then you get the green graph. And that looks more like 80% of homes are still under 100 amps. And that 100 amp mark is a really important kind of cutoff because the vast majority of homes in our territory have 100 amp or 200 amp or higher panels. So it's really like older homes that were built with smaller than 100 amp panels. So that line, that cutoff means that even with some of these conservative estimates on our analysis side, we think it's 20% at maximum should have to upsize their panels. It's probably much lower. And we're proving that with the actual installs through our program. Last thing I'll say on this is we took this data and we think it's really important. And so we've been sharing it. We put together materials to share with customers, with contractors, and with building officials to say, hey, this is viable. This is how the approach works. This is the way you can do it. We're seeing it happen. We want to share this information with the state. We want to push this out so that everyone can kind of understand, hey, this is the pathway to doing this because of the impact it will have on our customers in our region. So really important. And again, 2019, we were doing some of this, we just didn't know. We were looking at this kind of not really sure. So it's a really exciting thing, I think, to see. Okay, the rest I'm not going to spend that much time on, everyone. I'm very excited about it. Okay. This is the breakdown just in the last year and a half of our rebate program. I think it's particularly interesting to see that heat pump HVAC has been very popular. I think it's interesting because the rebate, the project cost is much larger. So our rebates aren't as big a fraction of kind of an incentive for this one. And so people seem to be interested in this upgrade for the cooling it provides maybe, or for some other benefits that they're getting beyond just kind of the financials working. The other thing that I think is interesting is the pre-wiring piece. We added this to our program because we wanted to help people start to pre-wire and think about their next electrification upgrade, think about air district rules that might come that might push people to have to electrify at some point down the road. So if you can do it now, might be a good idea. I'm really heartened by the fact that we're seeing such sort of uptake of that. I think it's resonating with people that, hey, I'm doing work now, why don't I also pre-wire? So that's exciting. Finally, again, kind of a merge of analysis and real-world data is that electrifying saves customers money on their operating expenses. So this is some analysis that we've done on the left showing a mixed fuel home and an all-electric home. And what we're seeing is that it's about a $30 a month savings for all electric. That is predicated on high efficiency equipment, on using energy at the right times, on having an electrification friendly rate, and on assumptions about how both gas and electric rates will change in future years. But still, that's what that looks like. I think it's interesting just to say our early analysis of some real world heat pump water heater data showed more like $30 a year of savings, but that was under a very different rate regime. So there was not the e-elec rate, for example, in existence at that time. And so some of the most electrification friendly rates were not available. So we're looking forward to pulling results from our current rebate program to really back up this analysis, but we think it will kind of be consistent with what we've modeled. Okay. Next program is contractor training. So this one, there's just 3 key pieces to know. We have an online 5-hour course that if you finish, you get the training incentive. We have a collaboration bonus, which is if you have completed our online training, then if you do a project for one of our customers through our home rebate program, you get a collaboration bonus of $500, up to 10 per year. And then a sort of self-installation incentive. So if you want to put a heat pump in your own home or business, you can do that. So the orange line on this graph shows when we started the collaboration bonus. So we kind of tied together the home rebates program and this contractor training program. And you can see that both the completions and registrations really took off at that time, which makes sense. It was an additional incentive that we were offering. But I think it was a really clever way to do this because we aligned kind of our incentives with the contractors' incentives with customer incentives so that these contractors were out there trying to help us communicate the benefits here because we had trained them and they're getting this value out of it. The other really interesting takeaway is that when you look at all of the contractors who have done projects through our home rebates program, about 1/3 of them have also done our training. But that 1/3 makes up about half of all of the installed measures through our rebate program. So said another way, the people who complete our training make up a much bigger fraction of the actual installs that are going through our program. And there's probably, there's a lot of reasons why this is the case. Maybe they're doing larger projects, maybe they're doing more projects just by volume than some other contractors, but I think it's really an interesting correlation there, and I think these 2 slides sort of tell us some things about how we might continue to engage the contractors in our area. How do we help them understand things like how to avoid panel upsizing that's unnecessary in a way that really connects to the programs? Last thing is that the sort of feedback loop with contractors also tells us things about what they're seeing in their business. So, for this, I think the interesting thing is that largely gas to heat pump water heaters replacement is taking less than a day. It's still taking more time than a gas to gas replacement, as is understandable, but hitting that 1-day mark is really important from an emergency replacement standpoint. So it's really good to hear that. And so we've incorporated this kind of thinking obviously into our single family turnkey program and the emergency water heater replacement pathway that we have there. Okay, last program is our EV charger sort of portfolio. So here you can see, and I've been showing you real pictures. Obviously, these are chargers out in the wild. You can see the SVCE sticker on all of them. I think this is not surprising, I guess, but the percent of multifamily EV owners who think that having home charging is important. So you can see really skews that it's very important. This is kind of the current paradigm of charging, right? People who have EVs really are charging at home. We talk a lot about how do we get more charging into the midday. And so there's things we're thinking about in terms of workplace charging, in terms of public charging. But at the end of the day, it's also important to understand and remember that in multifamily EV owners, they really are interested in being able to charge at home. And so that's something that we've surveyed and found out. The other takeaway from this program, I guess somewhat obviously, is that lower power solutions do have lower costs. I think what's something that we've learned is that these solutions are able to charge about 30 to 50 miles overnight. And when we survey our customers, we find that most people are driving less than 25 miles a day, which means the lower power solutions are sufficient for them. When you look to the right, you can see project costs for level 1 or level 2 outlets, and then level 2 ports, which are a higher power. You can see it's much more expensive to go with level 2 port. And at the same time, more sites are interested in the level 2 ports. So you see 8 sites versus 4 sites. So even though, we have these incentives, we have these offers, so there's kind of a little bit of a disconnect or maybe an opportunity there where as we continue to offer our technical assistance program and kind of think about where we go from here, how do we really educate multifamily properties on what is needed for their tenants versus what is desired? Because sometimes you do want a level 2 charger, or people are more comfortable knowing that they can charge more quickly, or it might be in a shared space. So there are some reasons for that, but it is really important to see this data, I think. Okay, so what's coming up for 2025? Scaling and more scaling. That's really, I think, the name of the game for us right now is we've got all these programs now live and available to our customers. How do we drive uptake and accelerate even more than where we are today and really reach all of our customers? A couple of key things that are coming. So kind of the final set of programs that we need to launch to have the whole portfolio live. The first one is our on-bill financing pilot. So this is taking some of the stuff about bill savings, taking some of the stuff about avoiding panel upsizing. How do we put all of that in, make the project cost as kind of little as possible, and ideally finance as much of it as we can through bill savings for the customer? And that includes a bunch of energy efficiency work that we're doing as part of the program, so things to try to drive the customer bill down. We have the income qualified e-bike rebates, an app to help customers stack incentives. So there's a bunch of different incentive programs. We're testing out a way to make it simpler. You just fill it all out in one place, one time, and it takes care of the rest for you. That actually just went live this week, I think, a soft launch. And then our demand flex virtual power plant. So that's something that we're working on. We have a solicitation that we're currently evaluating and looking to get that live this year. So I'm going to end kind of bringing it back to the beginning, which is just we are at the end of the day, we're trying to learn and innovate and be at the kind of front edge of some of this. And we are, based on what we're seeing kind of and talking to other entities. And we're doing that because we're trying to build this sort of state of the world where we have lower costs. We have approaches that we know work for everybody. The installs are kind of done the right way and they're easy. And we have contractors that promote electrification and for whom doing this electrification work, makes sense and that they want to do. So with that, I will turn it back to you for any questions or comments.
Thank you very much. Great presentation. Are there questions from directors? Director Rennie.
I love this stuff. I always have to comment. My first thought, you were wondering, and I didn't hear you come up with any guesses why the HVACs were out doing the water heaters. I would guess what happened is a lot of houses in this area were built before air conditioners were needed, and with the climate change, people are going, oh God, I need an air conditioner. Well, look, I can get my whole thing changed and get the air conditioner added. So I suspect that's what's driving the HVAC one, because it's, nice to get some money back, get your air conditioner in, and, well, renew your heating system all at the same time. The second, so that's my thought on that one. The second thing, the graph you showed about what percentage of the house's peak load is below 100 amps, it doesn't make sense to me, because I've just finished electrifying my house, and if I just look at the breakers there, and of course you don't run the max breakers, it's probably maybe 3/4 or 60% or something in that range. I have 30 amp for an oven, 40 amp for a stove, 40 for the car charger, 40 amp for the HVAC, and 40 amp for the water heater. And if I take about 3/4 or less, that's 150 amps. So I don't know how a fully electrified house can be below 100 amps. So I'm wondering, is your graph really, you said, well, after they've added HVAC, so the only thing I got to start assuming is, well, maybe they don't have a car charger, or maybe they don't have one of these others that really, because when I decided to electrify, I started with the HVAC and I was okay. But then once I started getting into the water heater and then I had to add the stove, there's just no way I could stay with my 100 amp panel.
I think that has long been the conventional wisdom and kind of sense. I would be happy to sort of send some of the materials that we've put together on this topic, because exactly the questions you're asking are the questions I think that contractors ask, that building officials ask. But when you look at the kind of actual coincident consumption and sort of peak that's happening, because you do have a breaker that's rated to a certain amount, but the actual draw of the equipment is not at that level.
And so maybe that brings up maybe a question also I thought about. So when you're calling it peak, is that the theoretical peak or the actual peak? So let's say I'm using all of these things at once. That's a different peak than in reality. I never use them all at once.
Reality peak. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes a little more sense then.
Yeah.
Thank you, Director. Director Showalter.
Sorry, it took me a second to find the unmute. Yeah, this is a fabulous presentation. Thank you so much. Can we have you come and give it at our councils or maybe sustainability committee?
At the risk of signing up for 13, I would be happy to. I would be happy to share this. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, this was great. And then my other question is, I think that the uptick in contractors who have taken our classes and are on board is tremendously important, because we really need, we just really need a strong cadre of contractors who are willing and able to do this work in order to get it done. So I think that's tremendously important. And one of the things I wondered about is, are we working with the local plumbers union, the plumbers HVAC union, local 393? When I was on the campaign trail this summer, I worked with them. They were very helpful, and they took me out to their training facility, which is just amazing. But they have a tremendous amount of it devoted to HVAC and electric water heaters. So I just wondered, have we made that connection?
Yes, we have. We're speaking with a variety of workforce representatives across the region, and Benna and Eric are leading that work. So we also toured a facility. I can't remember if it was the same one, but it was very impressive as well for the training. So yeah,
Okay,
if
that's
we're not
great to
already
hear.
connected with them, I will make sure that we get the contact from you, though.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Director. Next up is Chair Tyson.
Thank you for the presentation, and I was excited when I read the slides, and then now I'm doubly excited seeing the presentation and the way you masterfully presented that information, Justin. I thought it was really well done. And one of the things that struck me is that we've struggled so long to get to this point where we can build new facilities, we can provide clean energy, but how do we change people's behavior? And it's those little steps, these baby steps. And I feel like we're finally starting to get some momentum. And so this is a comment disguised as a question. So my question will be, can we get updates as we see the inflection points as we move to see, is it going to continue to accelerate? and then keep on the path. Because even with all this, we're still short of what we need. I think we all realize that, and we're going to need that acceleration. And let's hope it's happening in the next couple of years.
Yeah, thank you. And my intent is to make this a recurring sort of report to the board to just continue to elevate some of these things that we're finding and seeing across the program's portfolio, in addition to the quarterly update and the other materials that we provide. But I think it's well worth coming and talking about this. And I'm excited, sorry, now I'm going off from what you asked, but I do think it will be really cool in a year to talk about some of the direct install program results that we see through our multifamily and single family, and kind of, because we have a lot more control over some of those. And so we're going to be able to kind of test and demonstrate what different installation approaches could look like and what those impacts have, or what those cause for like the net cost. And when we do all of that with a bunch of energy efficiency, what are the bill impacts for customers? So I think there's going to be some really interesting takeaways there.
Thank you. Next up is Director Meadows.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So I want to go to one of the topics that Director Showalter mentioned, the contractors. And if you said this already, I apologize, but how much time for them to take the online training and complete that?
It's a 5-hour training.
Oh, it's only 5 hours. Okay. Do you see a trend? Are the younger contractors doing it and not the older? Have you seen anything age-wise? And you may not be asking.
I don't know that we're asking. It's an interesting question, though.
Because I'm going to give you an analogy, which is not going to be a perfect one, but it's got to do with the orthopedic surgeons. And when a new technique comes on, I won't give you the gory details of hip replacements, but the newer techniques were only undertaken by the surgeons who had enough time left in their career where it made it worth their while. Now, it wasn't just a 5-hour training. But if you look at the ROI on the contractors and their interest in both, comfort with a new technology, you may want to make an argument to gear it towards the older contractors if you're finding that they're a little reluctant. So, and if you want to know more about the anterior total hip replacement, just let me know.
Yeah, and I will say that, I don't know if you remember, I don't know if it was last month or a couple months ago, but we shared a video of testimonial from 2 of the contractor training participants. And one of them was talking about how, he was telling all of his coworkers about it, that they should go do this and that it was a great idea for them. And so I thought that was, again, I don't exactly know in terms of like age or anything like that, but I do think the word of mouth piece also can hopefully help us reach anyone.
Yeah, because the more contractors we have, they're going to do a lot of the groundwork for us. So, yeah.
Thank you. Director Walia.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask the question first, but then also roll in some comments because they're all interrelated. As I was talking with you earlier, Justin, prior to the meeting, this presentation caught my attention that I reviewed it once again before coming for the board meeting tonight and marked it as something that I'm going to forward to my city manager. Because it comes down to, and here's the question, how much information from here has recently been resent to different city staff? That's the question. And the background and the comments are the work that Team SVCE has been doing the last couple of years. I think we are at the stage, certainly for my city, that it's going to take a lot more impact. We're going to see the impact soon enough. We are at the stage where it's ramping up. The hard work, the collaboration, the communication from your multiple teams is taking effect with the cities. So which parts of this, and that slide of less than 20% people need the more than 100 amp panel, I shared part of that story with you that's happening in my city. That is the key part. And so the question is, and you can answer that later, how much is being conveyed to the staff recently in each cities? And I'm talking specifically my city. The comments are also tied in with that, the contractor training, because once it starts taking off, the contractors who are trained will be getting more of the projects as the permit modernization that SVCE is driving with different cities also takes effect. That is when the contractors who are not taking the training will notice that they are not getting as many newer projects. So all of these pieces get tied in different cities, at least my city community development department. So it comes back to all the fabulous work different teams from SVCE are doing with the city staff. So where are we with that, specifically to this?
Yeah, and I may I think part of your question may tie into the presentation you're going to have
Which is fine.
With Zoe in a moment. But I know that we have been talking to building officials in particular because they're like a key constituent here, right?
Mm-hmm.
As we talk about this, both making sure that they're comfortable with understanding the kind of what we've learned and what we're hearing and understanding. And also, we want them beyond just comfortable. We want them pushing contractors and pushing customers to say, oh, are we thinking about this? Maybe you could have done this with not upsizing this panel. And so, yeah, we are pushing this out to them. I don't think that I have shared exactly, across all programs. And so I think it'd be interesting for me to just understand from you or from other board members if there's an interest in, pushing even more information just generally on, hey, we had 1,000 heat pump water heaters across the territory. We do provide every city with community impact summary, which has information more specific to your city. And this time around, I think it will include kind of the sort of volume of projects that have happened in your city, but we're not calling some of these numbers out. But that's something we can think about.
Okay, thank you. So a request/question, in addition to what Director Showalter suggested, and I noticed you said, yes, we can certainly consider, I love it, SVC never says no to all the suggestions we make. You said consider all the 13 different cities. What may be faster and more effective, certainly for my city that I can suggest is spend 5 minutes, send me an email, slides, number 519 XYZ. Here are 5 slides that you can suggest to me that I can share with my city staff, that would be most effective in Saratoga for now. Then you don't even have to consider scheduling a meeting to come to my city in the near future. Because that way, your time is more effectively utilized. And by the time you come to Saratoga, we would already be on track, especially that 100 amp thing. So that's one suggestion slash question, if that would be feasible. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, and I think I made clear that I can't pare this down any further than I already did, so you'll get however many yeah, I think that's a good idea. We can I can pull out some of the key things and we can send that to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Director Lee?
Yeah, again, great presentation. Very exciting to see the amazing impact our programs are having on our community, clearly this past year. On the topic of the contractors for the heat pump installation, some residents in the unincorporated rural areas have mentioned to us that they have encountered difficulty finding contractors willing to serve the areas being remote. Have you heard any feedback about that issue on the tougher to reach areas of a county for heat pump installations? And I'm curious to see what we can do to maybe even having to incentivize or encourage contractors to serve these rural areas, which I think in many ways might be necessary as we start planning these programs and also supporting maybe the BACMET routes in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. I don't think that we have heard any feedback from customers directly saying that they're struggling because they're in we do, because they're in a more rural area. We do sometimes get that feedback that, hey, I can't find a contractor. That is part of why we launched our single family turnkey program, which has no locational restrictions or anything like that. And it has sort of fixed pricing, like it's got a lot of elements. And so if at this point, if we had someone who was reaching out to us saying that, we would say, well, great news, we have something that's available for you to use right now, where we have contractors who are ready to come do the work for you.
Okay, thank you. And I have a quick question. So you talked a little bit about upsizing, not required. How are we evaluating, and it kind of goes with what Director Rennie was talking about earlier, because it's not required because of conceivably HVAC or hot water pumps. Conceivably, it's already been upgraded because of solar or because of EV or EV charger or something of that nature. How are we capturing that? Because it's like from a data standpoint, you're saying it wasn't a direct result of these installations, but conceivably it's already been upgraded because of something in the past. Are we actually capturing that capacity? And it kind of goes back with what Director Rennie was saying, that there was already a capacity increase sometime in the past because of something. And now we're capturing, oh, you're doing the install of X or Y. It didn't require an upgrade. Is it because of the reduced need and conceivably a peak requirement? Or is it, oh, it was already done previously because this home was more of on a cutting edge standpoint? And I don't know if you have that data, or as you're capturing this install requirement, trying to figure out whether or not it's, let's say, a 20 to 50-year-old install from a utility box standpoint, or has it already been upgraded because of that homeowner for whatever reason? And you don't have to answer that now, but go ahead.
No, I want to make sure I'm kind of getting the different pieces of it. So I want to make clear that sometimes panel upsizing will be required.
Yep.
This is mostly, this was an intent to sort of look at this and understand, is it 80% of the time it's going to be required, or do we think it's something like 20%, or is it 50%? Because these are hundreds of millions of dollars in customer cost swings that we're talking about. And so understanding what is technically required, I guess I'll say, is an important first step. A customer could always decide that they want, this is sort of under a certain set of things. So, okay, you're gonna maybe use maybe a level 1 charger, or do you need a level 2 charger is maybe one question, or how many level 2 chargers do you have? And so there certainly can be some people who will go down this and kind of say, you know what, I want to upsize my panel because I want to be able to use these things coincidentally in a certain way. I think this analysis is predicated on kind of the standard guidelines for how the NEC code calculations work, including coincident kind of load use and use of things like circuit splitters if you need to and things like that. And so I think it's kind of about understanding the technical piece, and then also I think, and this was part of Director Rennie's comment I think as well, is there's sort of a customer interest piece, and that's what we're sort of working through as well with the real world data. But I think, to me, going back to that slide, looking at the actual heat pump water heater installs, again, it's not that at the beginning 35% actually needed to upsize. It was that it was an informational understanding issue. And so I think that's the question is, okay, is it 20%, which is our sort of conservative number? Or is it 30%? Because actually there's some piece we're not quite getting. Or is it 10% because we were being too conservative? And so I think we will learn more in the next year or two probably as we do more and more of these installs and have more of the direct install piece. So we can validate the model.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no, yes, Director Scazola.
I just want to make a quick comment, basically following Chair Tyson's comments, but societal change rarely happens overnight, but seeing those numbers, the ones in orange parentheses and how much progress was made just last year, and then that, I think it was slide 6, but it had a graph showing that upward arrow, dramatically climbing in the future. And so, I think we're all super excited, and I'm actually, I do have a quick question on that slide. I believe it was number 6 with that graph on there. Is that kind of a happy, optimistic, unofficial arrow, or is that, what am I looking at here?
Yeah. You mean with all my axes on it?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so this is more of this is what we think needs to happen. With a little blend of what we think is going to happen.
Got it.
Pending policies, pending market transformation happening. So this is assuming, yes, like a certain amount of adoption on the EV side, on the heat pump side, et cetera, et cetera. I think including the air district rules. And so if those get pushed out, if those get delayed in some way, or they kind of don't work super effectively for customers, then you won't see this. I think the question is, can what we're doing today enable that future, or does it keep getting pushed out?
Right. Well, I appreciate that, and I think I'm equally as optimistic from what I heard tonight.
Thank you. Director Showalter, do you have a quick question?
No, but I have a comment. Is it time for comments?
We'll go to the public first. One second.
Okay.
Is there any member of the public in the room or remote wishing to speak on this item?
No hands raised, Chair.
Sure. Director Showalter?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that I think one of the reasons that we're all so excited about this, besides the fact that it's great news, is that we're really being inundated now by message after message after message that's negative about things happening in our government. And this good news of what government, local government or regional government is accomplishing is doubly important to us psychologically. So I just wanted to kind of thank you for that and mention that, everybody in this room, well, I'm not in the room, but, everybody connected here, we all work on local and regional government, and we believe in it and we think it's important. And sometimes those messages are just drowned out. And so that's why one of the reasons I'm so enthusiastic about this is because we need this hope.
Thank you, Director. Director Rennie.
Thank you. So mine's, I guess, more of a comment, and I've probably alluded to this in the past. And I always think a little bit ahead what the problems it's going to occur as we start getting into this handle of your hockey stick. I worry that we're going to start making the duck curve problem worse, because when I look at, now that my home's electrified, how do I not use during the dirty times of the day? And EV charging is pretty easy to avoid. It's really tough not to have the HVAC run when it's cold, and the 4 to 9 p.m. time. That's when you usually cook also. I think water heaters probably not used that much in that time. So there's a fair amount of electricity that you really can't avoid using in that 4 to 9 time. My house isn't good for solar, so I don't have a battery. Are we able to put batteries on that they fill from the grid and then can be used in the house later on, or do we have to have solar? I'm not sure where that regulation is. And so then I'm thinking, well, do we need a program, if that becomes possible or is possible now, do we need a program to incentivize people to get batteries to help get this usage out of the dirty time? I realize it's maybe more cost effective for us just to buy grid batteries to cover the problem that way versus getting each person individually to cover it. But I still think it's a problem that for a little bit in the future we should start thinking about.
Thank you, Director. Seeing no other comments from the board, thank you very much. Looking forward to the next update. And we'll move on to our next item. Item number 5, local agency action planning. Zoe? Zoe Elizabeth, Director of Decarbonization Policy and Community Strategies.
Just wanted to make sure it's a tongue twister. I've worked in government for many years, and I think this is still my shortest title yet. So thank you so much, Justin and Director Showalter, for teeing up this presentation so well, which is really about the power of local government and the actions that you all are taking in respect to the commitment that you have for your communities. So I'm here to give the bi-monthly update on local action planning. Go to the next slide. Right. So this is all about the agency electrification and readiness plans. And this is a reminder for those of you who have been seeing this, and an update for our new board members, that we have a partnership that we think of with our member agencies, where we have a program that provides $4 million to support sensible policies and smooth permitting processes that enable our communities to move towards pollution-free buildings in a way that has less friction and less cost, really. So we talked a lot in the last presentation about rebate programs, which are really important for proving adoption, for helping people move along. But then as we move up that graph that Justin was showing, this is really where local policies can help us move more quickly up that curve. So we have $3 million specifically that supports permit modernization, and another $1 million that helps what we call policy experimentation. Next slide. Okay, and so to basically put this as a set of technical resources, to put this program into place, we are working with each individual member agency to basically create a tailored action plan that meets the needs of your community. We created this menu of options, and this is really just like the sample menu. There's actually additional options beyond that, those are here, that are kind of in these different tiers of action, so that each community can select the set of actions that make the most sense for the particular makeup of your community. Okay, so the update for this bi-monthly update is that we now have plans for all 13 of our member jurisdictions. So anybody who was tracking 2 months ago, those didn't all say final under status. So we are really happy to have this tailored plan for each of you. And then what we've done over here, just to give you a sample of, I think we've emailed all the actual plans to you, but to give you kind of just a sample of where people are. This shows the 3 categories, so that foundational, advancing, and leading. And then the numbers below show the number of actions in each of those categories that your staff has selected to be in the plan. So you can see there's a variety there. And everyone's got something in leading, actually high numbers in leading. Okay. And we always like to do a quick kind of celebration of the progress that folks are making individually outside of those numbers. So one, Cupertino is beginning the process to conduct a community survey along with SVCE to gauge opinions about new policies. So this is one of the things that we provide within the technical resources is around community engagement. We have a consultant on hand. We know that oftentimes cities want to do community engagement, but it's difficult to bring new consultants on and gear those up. So we have a consultant on hand that's basically able to work directly with your staff to do this. This is already, anything that was written more than a week ago, we all know is way out of date this month, and this one is no different. That this has this engaged consultant. Gilroy's, this website is actually live. It is a small thing, but I find it incredibly exciting. If you go to the building department website for Gilroy, it talks about the importance of permitting and doing pre-wiring. It's a really great thing, and I know that we actually have many of you, your cities are also going to begin doing that. So just a really pragmatic way to inform people at the right time to get ready. Okay. And that's the end of my presentation. I will also say I know that we are keeping kind of our heads up and celebrating the progress that we continue to move forward. I'll also say that with changes at the federal level, we, of course, are also anticipating that there will be new and different headwinds coming down that could affect our ability to take local action or send different directions. So we are continuing, as Benna mentioned, to monitoring that situation, and we'll work with you all as needed. happy to take any questions if there are any.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the directors in the room or remotely? I see none. Is there any member of the public in the room or remotely wishing to speak on this item? No? So thank you very much for the update. Thank you for being succinct and looking forward to, and this is the important thing is helping push to a certain degree all of our jurisdictions to meet these goals, and glad to see that you've made such great progress in just the last few months. So thank you.
Thank you for your partnership.
Thank you. Next up are board member announcements and direction on future agenda items. Any comments from the board? Chair Tyson.
Thank you. I just wanted to express my regret at not being able to be in the room where it happens tonight, and I will fix that in the future, and express also my thanks to Vice Chair Klein for running such a smooth meeting. It really is such a sign of what depth and what strength we have on this board and the staff, the whole organization. I want to just say a word about thank you for electing me as your chair at the previous meeting. And I take this role very seriously. I see us as kind of the cusp of great new things, as you've heard already from Justin and others today. And one of the things that I'm concerned about and I want to make sure that we're ready for is the governance of this organization as we go into a more complex and frankly, higher dollar involved. It's such a huge impact that we have. And so one of the things I'm looking at is how to get a sense of what are best practices in governance of CCAs, because it's so different from all of the other boards that we sit on and our roles as council members. And so I was fortunate enough to go to the dinner before the the lobbying dinner for Cal CCAs, and had a chance to meet with board chairs as well as CEOs of other CCAs. And this is something I intend to learn more about. And I'm really pleased that Andrea is also helping collect information about that. And we'll look to see over the coming year what we could implement that helps make us robust and make this stronger in a long-term enduring organization. So just a heads up on one of the major thing that I think is of priority in the next year.
Thank you, Chair Tyson. Any other comments from directors? I just have a quick announcement. So, this organization focuses on decarbonization and has done such great things with electrification. One of the things that we have a grand opening ribbon cutting for an EV shuttle program in Sunnyvale on Tuesday, March 4th for one of our business parks and a portion of our residential community. So it's the other big greenhouse gas producer, of course, is transportation. And I think, what we're trying to do from at least our city standpoint, we're having an EV shuttle system that we're piloting at the beginning of this year and should be citywide by the end of the year. But happy to see that kickoff event just a few weeks away. But it's been something I've been pushing on for the last 4 years, and I think it behooves all of us. It's the electrification of all transportation is kind of the next big step wherever we can do it. So happy to see that. Any other comments from directors? Seeing none, we will adjourn this meeting at 9 p.m. Thank you all. Thank you for helping us catch up. Have a good evening. Good night.